The effects on the advocates. Legalized aggression. That's his subsection. That's what he calls this chapter. While most people probably imagine themselves to be spectators when it comes to authoritarian oppression and injustice, in truth, nearly everyone is actually an advocate of government violence in one form or another. Anyone who votes, regardless of the candidate, or even verbally supports some policy or program of the government, is condoning the initiation of violence against his neighbors, even if he does not recognize it as such. This is because law is not about friendly suggestions or polite requests. Every so-called law enacted by politicians is a command, backed by the threat of violence against those who do not obey. As George Washington put it, government is not reason, it is not eloquence, it is force. Most people in their day-to-day lives are very reluctant to use threats or physical force against their fellow man. Only a tiny fraction of the many personal disagreements that occur lead to violent conflicts. However, because of their belief in government, nearly everyone advocates widespread violence without even realizing it, and they feel no guilt about doing so, because they perceive threats and coercion to be inherently legitimate when they are called law enforcement. Everyone knows what happens if someone gets caught breaking the law. It may only be a fine, a demand for payment under threat of force, or it may be an arrest, forcibly taking someone captive, or it may even result in law enforcers killing someone who continues to resist. But every law is a threat, backed by the ability and willingness to use deadly force against those who disobey, and anyone who honestly considers the idea will recognize that fact. But the belief in authority leads to a strange contradiction in how people see the world. Almost everyone advocates that law be used to coerce others to do certain things or to fund certain things. However, while advocating such actions, knowing full well the consequences to any who are caught disobeying, those same advocates fail to recognize that what they are advocating is violence. There are millions, for example, who consider themselves to be peaceful, civilized people. Some even proudly wear the label of pacifist, while advocating armed robbery against everyone they know, as well as millions of strangers. They see no contradiction because the robbery is given the euphemism taxation, and is carried out by people who are imagined to have the right to commit robbery in the name of government. The level of denial which the belief in authority creates is profound. When advocating political violence, people accept no responsibility for the results. Those who apply for government benefits, for example, are asking to receive loot forcibly stolen from their neighbors via taxation. Likewise, applying for a government job amounts to asking that one's neighbors be forced to pay one's salary. Whether the person receives a direct payment or some service program or other benefit, he will usually accept the stolen property without the slightest hint of shame or guilt. He may otherwise be perfectly neighborly to the people whom he asks the state to rob. In no other situation does such a strange mental disconnect occur, not only for the one advocating the act of aggression, but also for the victim of it. If, for example, one person had paid an armed thief to break into his neighbor's house and steal some of his valuables, and the neighbor knew he had done so, such neighbors would probably not be on friendly terms, to say the least. Yet when the same thing is done using authority, via elections followed by legislative theft, neither the thief nor the victim usually perceives anything wrong with it.